Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report.
And it is featuring Reagan Forston. Oh boy, we're getting lots of feedback. And Natasha Ventor.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Okay, well, it is what it is. So how are you guys doing this week?
Doing fairly well. I'm going to check something out for us real quick here.
All right.
My computer's going slow today because Mercury's in retrograde. So it's just one of those things. And I don't know if you can still see me, but I'm going to go to my YouTube and make sure everything is closed down for us. So if that maybe help. I just got to do this. And then, so how is everyone?
Good.
Good. It's been a good week. It's been a good weekend.
Okay. Yep, I'm muted, so we're good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not hearing the static now.
So that's
yeah, we'll just have to know that Mercury's in retrograde and, technology, and that's what was happening last week and the week before that, because we have a shadow effect going into it. So, if things don't work quite right, that's why.
Yeah.
There you go. And Regan was just telling me about his week. He had a really nice, busy week, including a podcast he did with someone from merry old England.
Including a what?
Did you do a podcast from somebody in England?
Oh, yeah. It was, this guy has a little studio, and it's a little town in England somewhere. And I don't think he quite understood what my deal was all about, because it was kind of, his eyes just kept bugging out. He's a really sweet guy, really nice guy, young man there. So we just talked we did like a 15, 20-minute interview. He does 2 of those and then puts them on the show every week, So I don't know what he thought it was about, but when we started talking, he was like, what? Because in their 20s, this is pretty far out stuff, people going to past lives and things. So, well, I had about 8 hours more of in my training for the QHHT, the quantum healing hypnosis, and that it's just amazing. Some of the sessions, I saw a couple of sessions in there, and it was amazing. The one of the instructors there knew a past life she went to that was, I think I mentioned that last week, because it was she was being burned as a witch, right. And in that past life, and it was just to show us what some of our clients might go through. But I meant to reiterate, some people are afraid to go to a past life because they're afraid of that. They think, well, what if I'm, being butchered or something and I have to relive that? And it's not a big deal. It's maybe just for a moment, and we sense if that's happening, and then we have you look at it from outside your body. So, none of the clients I've had a few have had rough deaths like that, and it's not been really an issue with them, because part of them knows that they're there and it's not really happening, even though that feels like it for a moment there. So people don't have to be afraid of that anyway, to do that. You might be embarrassed that you were doing, like I had a couple of women that were having affairs in other lifetimes, and in this lifetime they wouldn't even consider that. So they were a little bit. Well, one of them just giggled. She goes, "Wow, I was really having a good time there." But because she was in a loveless marriage, and this, there was some guy that she worked with in a printing shop in England, and they were having a little tryst at one of the motels in town. But it was interesting when she was in hypnosis and her now self realizes that, and you could just see her eyebrows going up, like she goes, "Oh my God, I'm having an affair," at the same time she's witnessing it. So very interesting what we did in past lives.
Yeah, Natasha, I've identified it, and apparently it's you. We're getting feedback from your microphone.
No, I don't know what it is. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
I turned off my things and that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping it kind of works its way out. But, and that's the thing that I think that we all kind of have to get over in a way as past lives start to get to be more known is that at one point in time, we were all somebody. So we were all someone who was burned at a stake, hung, a murderer, or a murderess, or someone who was poor, someone who was rich, someone who, just, didn't care, someone who really cared. There's just all these different, sometimes we were leaders, sometimes we were the poor people, it's just, we're all somebody because we have these experiences that our soul needs to learn.
Yeah.
And the more that we can tap into, and that's what I think about this lifetime, even specifically for me, I can speak is that I'm aligning so much into my soul of all the past times that I've been alive and aligning into them so that, hopefully the next time my soul comes, that it doesn't have to work so hard to get, it knows everything. My soul knows everything, but yet this body and this mind needs to recognize it. But I feel like the more that the body and the mind and the soul and the emotions and everything can come along for the ride in one lifetime, it just it's almost like the puzzle pieces come together at one lifetime. So then it kind of can go on to a different journey in the next lifetimes. And I think that witnessing a lot of people, we're kind of coming together in this lifetime. Past lives aren't so weird. We're not so stricken by so much, like in the Western days, you were God-fearing people. We were God-fearing people. Well, we're not so God-fearing now. We're more companions with our higher power than we are fearing him. And, so there's all these different realms of who we are. And I understand that, if we were, like a Native American or an Aborigine or someone of the native of the land, whoever they're called, we do find more spirituality in those lifetimes. And so we do find the connection. But I think, like for me, I was just told that my soul, if I go back into my past lives, like I was listening to Kevin's last person that he interviewed, there was an author that he interviewed, and I was like going, I know a lot of that stuff, but why don't I recognize it as my written stuff? And I was told by my guide that I'm connecting with my past lives. Well, just start practicing, go back in your past lives, and that's like a book. You are the Akashic records, because your soul is so old, of many past lives. And so just go into those and you can tell people the history. And I'm like going, oh, okay. Because I was told that my history of my souls can be the future of what our life is, because what we do in our past is who we are in our future. And so with that I could help a lot of people go through that if I just tap into my past lives a little bit more. And that was kind of the adventure of the weekend.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I think what I've noticed in even regular therapy, that if you think about even in this lifetime, we start talking about things we're ashamed of. And I think there's a few things came to mind that I'd done in this lifetime that when I was a different person anyway, and I realize I'm not that person anymore. So I have a lot of my clients that have, carried stuff that they've done, carried with them stuff that they've hated themselves for, like when they were in their 20s or 30s, and now in their 60s or 70s even, and they still can't love themselves because of things they did when they were younger. And once they start realizing that they got to get over that, they have to forgive themselves and realize that they've learned through that and they're not that person anymore, then they can begin to heal. So we all need to not be so rough on ourselves when we know we've changed,
Mm-hmm.
We're not that we're not that person anymore. So in a past life, same thing. We've all done bad things. So,
And that's what I kind of think. It's like yesterday was my past life. It was just a past life of this, body, but it's other past lives. But and that's the grace that I think this is the saying that my dad taught me when I was very young, and I use it to this day. Even the year that I had to take care of my mom with Lou Gehrig's disease, is that at this minute in time, you have this much information. Tomorrow, you'll have more information, and you maybe would have made a different choice because you had different information. But you got to forgive yourself for where you were because you only had that much information when you made that first decision. And so it's that part of going, okay. And like, I know that after taking care of my mom, that I would have looked back and gone, why didn't I do that different? And I would have, if I didn't take a snapshot of where I was at making that decision, I wouldn't have realized I was so exhausted, and I had a new baby. I had a 4-year-old. We just moved into the house. I was losing my mom. She didn't want to work with me some days because her world was closing down and she wanted to make choices. So we were battling a little bit at that time. And it's like, so with that snapshot, I had to say, well, at this minute in time, I'm a little frazzled. So I'm making decisions while I'm frazzled. And tomorrow I won't be so frazzled. The next year I won't be so frazzled, or, when I look back. And I wouldn't say that it gives me grace, but it gives me some kind of, okay, I don't have to beat myself up. At least I don't go down that rabbit hole, because I said that at that time. And I swear I said that. It doesn't mean that I got grace with making poor decisions. I am responsible for the decisions I make, but at the same time, I really have, it gave me the ability to take the snapshot of where I was at, so that I remembered I was beat tired, I was wrung out. I wasn't my true self.
Yeah. I think we remember, like, I know when I was 19 and had my first child, I was a really bad father. I didn't know how to be a father. I didn't even know myself, and part of me, sometimes I look at my kids now, or my 4 stepdaughters that I have. And that was 10 years. See, that was 20 years later when I had them. And I was a lot better. But now, when I'm even who I am now, part of me once in a while goes, gosh, I wish I could start over and be a father now, because I know I could be great now. But then I realized, that's just the game. We learn as we get older. Maybe that's why grandparents are so good to young kids, because we're so much better at parenting when we're, or in wisdom and things that we didn't have when we were younger. So we're much easier on them than their young parents are. We see them more for who they are, rather than having to be the parents and be inexperienced and not know how to parent. It's tough being a parent, especially nowadays. It's tough. I don't know how these young people are doing, especially in the San Francisco area where I live. It's like, I mean, unless you're working for like Google or one of these big firms, it's you can't even afford your apartment. Little apartments here, just starting apartments, are almost $2,000 a month just for a 1 bedroom. And that's a lot. So it's starting out.
It's a lot ending up.
Yeah, what apartments go for in Seattle there?
For a typical one, in Seattle or outlying areas?
Yeah, well, the Seattle area. It's not as bad as here, I don't think, is it?
It's getting there. In Seattle, 1 bedroom goes for around $2,000.
Okay.
In the outlining area, you can get one as cheap as $1,400, but a lot of them are like $16,000, $17,000 a month. Yeah, and they make you sign a year lease and all that stuff.
Yeah, my Patty has she has a condo that's about 800 square feet, and she rents that for $3,200 a month. And people are lined up to every time it's a vacancy, it's just filled immediately. So I don't know. I just feel sorry for them, and somehow I guess they're going to make it, just like we did. I mean, it was a lot more for us than it was for our parents too. So, and we did it. So
yeah, well, we were lucky, because the kids nowadays, I don't know how you can afford to buy a house for $500,000.
Yeah. Oh God.
I just don't know how you do it.
Yeah. I was a real estate broker when I was 23, and I remember I had a new client came into the office, and the guy had a big beer belly with the t-shirt didn't quite cover his tummy in the front, and the wife was kind of, raggedy a little bit, and they had this old beat up car, and they wanted me to show them some stuff. And so I'm doing this judging thing, like how they're going to afford to buy a house, and I took them out to this house, and the first one they saw, they said, yeah, we're going to buy it. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll get back to the office, and we'll see if I can find a lender to give these guys some money or something. And then the guy said, well, we'll just pay cash for it. That was my thing. Like, wow, don't judge a book by its cover. When I was, that's when I was 23 years old, and but that's a good subject, isn't it? It's like judging a book by its cover, because we're still all guilty of that, I think, but hopefully less and less and less all the time, judging people just because of the way they look, or where they live, or something like that.
That is a good topic.
Yeah, because we never know what's on the inside. We never know what care people have. Many people kind of like living in that incognito of what's around them.
Yeah.
And I live my life pretty non-judgmental. There's a couple times where it's like, like I'm flipping through Facebook or something, and somebody has a message, and I kind of flip over it, and then I flip back going, why did I flip over him? I mean, I keep questioning myself, because the more that I question myself, the more that the layers come off, and the more I kind of go, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I'm kind of in the really deep shadows of working on, because I've worked on a lot in my life, and because life has presented a lot in front of me to work on things. And so when I do work on I don't want to call it judgments, but just those things that just kind of are you don't even think about flipping through and going, I'm not interested because of something, it could be the length of the hair. It could be the unkeptness of a beard, or it could be, someone has a tattoo right here, or, it could be just something that's an unconditional or an unconscious thing that I'm flipping through. But I kind of go back and go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, just because it is about not necessarily desensitizing ourselves, but asking, what is it about this person that kind of sets me off a little, and that's where sometimes past lives go back, maybe, this one person who, and I'm not naming anybody necessarily, but real shaggy beard and hair that was unkept. And well, maybe he was the one that beat me up one time in an alley in a past life, or someone who kind of looked like that, or had the same sound, that those are those things we got to kind of have to check in with too. If we can, the why. Is it something in this lifetime? Is it something that I heard from a parent that we shouldn't interact with people that look like that?
Yeah. And a lot we get, we have to start realizing a lot we get from our parents too. Because I remember back in Indiana, I think we talked about this one time, but the neighbor boys, their parents were really prejudiced or something. So my dad wasn't, because he owned a small 5 and dime store in a poor part of town, and I would go there and work with him sometimes, and he never said anything about the different colors of people or anything like that. But right back in Indiana, and I didn't realize just how prejudiced that state still is, and so but the neighbor boys, they were always saying the N-word anytime they saw someone black, and I didn't understand that until I went home with them, and their dad was talking that way, and so I just saw, well, I was lucky that my dad wasn't that way, so I didn't have to get over that like a lot of people have over there, because that's really, with the Trump thing and everything that's been happening recently, and it's amazing just how that part of our society has shown itself now, as we talked about a little bit last week. It's out there, and it's something for us to really look at, and each of us examine on our own, and look at our own prejudices that we have. because some of them that are out there now are so blatant. It's just shocking nowadays, but that's the truth, I guess. You know what we have to deal with in this country.
Yep, it's called personal choice. You know, that percent that we have as humans is interesting to take a look at to see what is a truth for us, you know, and that's why I always kind of say that love is the truth with a capital THE, you know, because love, even if it's tough love, it's always for the kindness. It's always for the greater good. It's always moving someone forward. When you have love of saying no, you know, you're looking at why am I saying no? I'm saying no because you need boundaries. You know, it's that love. But then when you're just hating someone and there's not love behind it, you know, it's interesting because I had a conversation with someone a friend of mine, and she says, you know, I'm upset at the situation. I'm not upset at the person. I love the person. I'm just upset at the situation. And I'm very upset about it, actually. And we talked about it. And I said, thank you for that language, because it's like we have to kind of get down to what are we really upset about? What are we really looking at, you know, for that truth? Is it the situation? Is it the person? And many times we kind of gom it all together, that person is doing something that I'm not liking. Well, you know, like, you know, I work in an elementary school, and, you know, the principals and the school districts, you know, there's how many thousands of kids and parents that they're having to interact with, and they're having to make choices of the greater good. And they're not going to please everybody. And so sometimes I don't like the decision that was made, but in the greater good, I have to kind of understand that, hey, I can't be mad at the person making the decision, but I can be upset that the decision was made that way because it doesn't sit right with me. But I'm one of the many. And that's the thing is that the greater good, I hope, is coming out. And then as it filters down to me, I can do the greater good for it so that it comes across in a loving way.
Now, Natasha, I wanted to ask you a question because you said this weekend you were busy reviewing past lives through the Akashic records. Tell us a little bit about that. Well,
I have a gift of being able to, and I was told this from it's a newer guide to me, and it's kind of nice because she's kind of coming in and helped me with this, that when I do a session with someone, and I understood that I have a hard time sometimes with names, and she goes, because you look at their soul. You look at what their soul needs to work on to get into a lighter life this lifetime. And so for me, I kind of go straight into the soul of the records. Sometimes we go to a past life. Sometimes we go to this life. And when I'm practicing on mine, it opens up the door to work with others more. And I've always had knowings with me about what I've done. You know, I remember past lives where I was actually the angel that was on the battlefields picking up bodies off of the battlefields or trying to convince them in their ear. I remember whispering in their ear, you know, come on, you can do it. Keep going. Just crawl a little bit more. Stay low, stay low. You know, and maybe all they were thinking was, I got to stay low, but I got to keep going. But I was their support moving forward. Or helping a soul come off, you know, if it was a body and the soul just needed to be cuddled and cradled, that I would kind of put my wings and my arms around them and take them off the battlefield. And so with that, when I have this knowing of myself, it really helps me tap in. Like the other day, my husband and I were talking about something, and he says, how are you supposed to understand? I said, I just go to a past life when I was a man. And had the same situation.
How did you see these past lives? Just by going within, in other words, or were you with somebody that was helping you experience a past life? Just you on your own decided to do it?
Me on my own, yeah. So what I do is it's almost like I do this so quickly. So thank you for letting me explain it. It's almost like I go backwards quickly and then go into before I was born. And then I kind of go into this space. Sometimes it's like me walking into a big auditorium, and that's where all my past lives are, and I can pick and choose which one I want. Sometimes when I'm looking at something, I just kind of go back to that one. It's almost like a road going back to that one, and I stop there. And one time, like when I was having a problem, it was kind of at a peak when my husband and I were having problems with just life, and I sat down, and I had my Native American guide. She came and she put me in a canoe, and she took me up the river, and of all the past lives that my husband and I worked together, and then took me back to when we were souls, when we were in a house. Kind of, it almost felt like the Netherlands or Scotland or something like that. We were just a house, and we were talking so nicely. We would just had the great communication. We didn't really have bodies. We were just at peace with each other. And she says, "This is what you can have."
Well, when you did it this weekend, I'm just trying to think of the process, how it's different for a medium who has kind of a connection already, and then somebody like me that gets people in hypnosis to do it. So did you think, oh, I want to see some past lives, and then you sat down and did a meditation or something, or were you just like awake like you are now and it just came?
Like I just did it now. You know what I mean? Like I can,
Wow.
Okay, so going back, I was a caveman, and so it's just me kind of, if you kind of saw my body, I was kind of weaving my way through, I kind of weave my way through some past lives, and then, going back and being a caveman and just going, and the language,
Wow.
basically the language. And but I've done it so many times that I don't have that wall. I don't have anything between me and it.
When you see your past lives, does it seem to be that it has some sort of relevance to something you need to look at for what you're going through? Or is it just you see some of these things and it doesn't really have a relationship to what you're going through in your current life? Like,
most of the time it has some kind of certain significance, like the other morning, when you were talking about your friend who was found burning at the stake, and I said that I had a dream. I woke up from a dream where I was witnessing myself being burned from a stake, back when it was back in the early English times, and they were burning me. I was a man, and in those little the outfit was puffy. The pants were puffy, and kind of, it was that kind of like almost girlish, you had the leggings and that kind of,
like bloomers, like.
Yeah, exactly. But it was more bloomy, it was like at the very beginning when that kind of came on, and so what I found out, though, that week was set up that I was really trying to balance the difference between gaining my own empowerment and being empowered with my partners. And with that kind of that balance of knowing how to interact with because a lot of times in my past days of this body, past lives of this body, that whenever I found somebody who came in, I usually let them take over because of my dyslexia and stuff, that I thought I was less than. But now this time, it doesn't matter who I am. I know I have strengths. They have strengths. I have weaknesses. They have weaknesses, and we can balance that out. But it's that partnership of I and we. And so with that I'm finding a lot of things are coming up. Like the other day that I went to get into someone else's Zoom because we're partners, and she actually took over my Zoom. It was like, how did that go from me going to hers, and then she came into mine? But there again was another thing that synchronized. Okay, who am I working with, and how am I staying in strength, and how am I letting things take me over, or am I going to just kind of say, what, can you just give it back to me? How am I managing this? How am I navigating this self-empowerment? But being burned at the stake is a depowering thing. someone took my power away when I knew that I wasn't that person that they thought I was.
Yeah.
You know,
I found that when I have clients and help them go to past lives, when they leave that body and see their funeral and everything, and then I have them in that soul state. And if I can talk to their higher self, which talks to them in third person, I say, why did you show, of all the lives they lived, why did they just see that one? And they usually they'll give them the reason. It becomes very obvious to them when they're told that, and then their this life self goes, oh my God, that makes so much sense while I saw that. So it seems like most of the time, if you're like people that are watching this or listening to this, if you've had a dream or you've been somewhere and had that deja vu and you've had this feeling you've been there before, it's probably doing that for you for a reason to have you examine what that life was like and what's going on in your life now. And are you still dealing with that same issue, you know, or just some awareness? So it didn't seem to be just for like, you know, giggles that they just show you these past lives, you know, that there's a purpose. Like what would be the purpose if you have seeing the life if it didn't have any relevance to what your life is now, you know? So yeah, Kevin, you I forget before, you've had a past life regression, right? Or you've had someone tell you about your past lives before?
Yes, sir, I had. Yes, I did, as a matter of fact. Do you want me to tell you about it?
Yeah, tell me, give us one of those.
Yeah, it's one of those where I went to a hypnotherapist because there was an issue with loneliness or being part of a group, or there was something having to do with that, and she wanted to work me through that. And so I went back, and I was a Native American child of about 13 or 14, and I was rambunctious and I didn't listen to reason. That's what it was. I was not listening to reason, and to my workmates and the other people that were surrounding myself. So I went to her, and she put me back, and this Indian boy had it was on the wild side, and so they actually banished him.
They banished him?
They banished him from the tribe because he was not fulfilling the work that needed to be done. And I'll never forget. I have a clear picture in my head of him in amongst the rocks, and it's nighttime and it's cold, and he dies of hypothermia.
Oh, so you knew how you died?
Yeah. Because it was cold and he had nothing, and they just said, no, you're not following the rules of the tribe, and so we've decided that you're not to be here anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, I still have a picture of what it will look like.
Yeah. How did that you know, with what you were going through at the time, how did that, tell me again how that made sense to you? What were you going through in this life?
Yeah, it made sense to me because I was at that time I was having trouble with peers and other people, and not getting along, and not working together in a group setting, and so there was a lot of anger and a lot of I want to do it my way and stuff like that. And what that was trying to show me was that you can do that, but it could kill you if if you're not working together with other folks and other people.
So because of that, did you change your behavior at all?
Oh yeah. When you get something like that, then it becomes really pretty clear that, as a matter of fact, it was Dominique Glob that I was seeing, and she does past life, or she does life between lives regression too. We didn't get to that one, but this one was, and she kind of we worked through it, and she explained why it was the way it was, and that in order to work together with people, you need to understand and work together. You can't always have your way, and you have to work together with people and understand that they're trying to accomplish the same things you are, and stuff. So I vividly remember that whole scenario. So but it was pretty cool. I highly encourage anybody who has not had a chance to go through a past life regression or to do a life between lives regression to really do it, because it really can be a life-changing experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits, right, Natasha? I mean, this.
There is.
You know, I used to think it was just it would just be a fun thing just to see if you lived before, but it changes for people that have this thing about spirituality and God, and they just have all these questions and wondering about which religion and all that. Just having a past life regression is a good thing to do to start getting you to look at the world with a bigger picture. You know, so that you can see things. You definitely start to be less prejudicial, and you start to be more, I think, more compassionate in that, and you know, and you start really realizing or wondering, you know, what the heck, what is my mission now? What am I supposed to be doing? You know, when you keep, you know, having these lessons that you go through life after life, you know. So yeah, it's there's a lot of benefits to it. But even if it's just the one where you realize that you're much bigger than you think you are.
And you actually wrote a book about it, right, Reagan?
What?
You wrote a book about your experience.
Yeah, I did. Well, I have two out there now. One's that reincarnation is real, which is, I think if people look at that, they're just going to see that there's a lot of research going on now. I mean, the University of Virginia has been doing research for 40 years, and there's a lot of proof out there now. I mean, it's, you know, it's pretty much a done deal that it's, you know, and of course, you know, for the people that don't want to believe it, they won't. But there's so many people that are questioning, and they just want to see a little more evidence. So the evidence is out there now, you know, I think where, you know, people can be relatively assured that, yeah, this is the way of the world, you know, that we've been around before and we're here now. So, you know, I just and on my website it's free. I'm giving it away for a while. If they want to go to the visittheafterlife.com, they can get a free copy. And it's really cool because it's a ebook, and I love the ebook because in there I put links to videos, and so they're reading, and then they can click and they can go and watch a video and then come back to the book and then go to another video. So it's kind of, you know, audio visual. It's a nice little book, you know, just to get them thinking, you know. Natasha, have you had a favorite book or something that talks about mediums for people to be like, because I mean, since I've known you, I realized just how little I knew about mediums. I just kind of thought I knew, but you know, it's been great knowing you, because now I see it as more of a real thing, as more of it. It's, hey, just like the past lives is real, the mediumship is real, you know. And I just wondered if someone has written like an all-inclusive book about mediums for someone who is just really curious about that subject.
You know, John Edwards has written a couple books. You know, though, like I've said a couple times, that I have not been a very strong reader, so I have not read a lot of books on that intuitiveness because of just my dyslexia. I don't know of a lot of books out there because I'm not drawn, or have not in the past. And now that I'm doing the work that I am, a lot of those books are the one-on-ones when I'm on the, you know, they're the beginning math when I'm on the calculus and physics, you know. It's like, yeah, I'm not drawn to them at all. And I am actually, with a friend of mine, starting to write a book about some of those things, and yeah, you know, doing different things like that on how to do different things and how to believe in oneself. But I know that John Edwards and who else? There are a lot of the better names out there. I would stick with some of the better names just because they have some, you know, time into the craft.
Yeah. That would be John Edwards. He would probably be good and everything, because, you know, people listening to us now think there's so much information out there. There's probably, you know, if they just Google it and put, you know, best book on mediumship or something, or a lot of people need to realize too that they may have some skills that they could be a medium if they wanted to. They just need to know how to flip the switch. you know, and I know there's a couple of psychic, like here in Berkeley, I think they have the Psychic Institute or something, and I know people that have gone there and they've been able to find out. Yeah, they can actually see the future. They can read people and that, and they've always kind of felt that. But at the school, they help them kind of, you know, get those switches turned on more fully, or have them, you know, realize what's going on.
Well, and two, you know, it's like I have a class that I like to do that for people too. And, you know, like I tell people, the best thing to do is start practicing, because that's what we're waking up, is our inner truth. And a lot of that is that inner voice that tells us, oh, my tummy's upset. I don't think I should do that. You know, it's like, you know, no, there's something that's off about this. And it's believing that, you know, it's that. I'm going to label it, it's the woman's intuition, or that woman's feeling that has been called, you know, has been labeled for so many years, so many generations, but actually it's male, female, animals, whatever you want it to be. And it's just amazing how to work on that, but it is trusting, you know. Like for me, when I see a past life, I trust it, because I've got that line is so open now. And it's just interesting how we can work with ourselves. But a lot of us have been taught. It's been taught out of us. So it's not necessarily turning on the switch. It's just.
Excuse me.
That's pretty cool. So Natasha, how does it work for you? Because like John Edwards sees symbols, they show him symbols. Matt sees people. Others see it different ways. How does it present itself for you?
I get it. It depends on who I'm working with. A lot of times I'll get a movie in my head, or I will get or I'll hear voices, or I'll kind of, like, sometimes when I hear that I need to take a left, I'll feel a tap on my shoulder, or I'll feel kind of an energy on my shoulder. So it really depends on who's working with me, which guide is working with me, depends on how I get the language. Like past lives, a lot of times I'll see it in the movie, or I'll hear the language around it. And so with that, when I'm hearing like a loved one is saying something, that I'll hear, you know, something like orange juice, and I'll see somebody maybe working in the kitchen, and those two things coming together will put the language that it was that person needed to hear.
Yeah, I've heard I think 2 times in my life where I actually heard a voice, you know, in my head anyway. You know, 20 years ago, I would have thought, okay, I'm losing it, you know. So, you know, that's good for you to say that too, because people, you know, I think when they have that experience, sometimes they wonder if they're losing their mind, but you know, and of course you have some crazy people saying that some go do something bad, you know, so.
But that's one thing I want to make that very clear right now.
Yeah.
That mind and bad entities that are attached to a lot of these people, they'll be bad influences. They'll say negative things. They'll bring you down. The good guides, the good angels, the ones that are higher selves will always say, you might not want to do that. Or, oh, that'd be a great thing. You know, it's like they have even if it's saying no, they don't have that bad shoulder. You know, it's the voice of the good shoulder. You know, that metaphor of the one on sitting and one on the other. You know, it's like, you know, the mind is sitting and the entities are sitting on one side, and the good angel and the higher self are sitting on the other. But there's never a negative, bad guidance. Now, there's guidances sometimes where, you know, it's like, yeah, you should go down in that tunnel. There's something there for you, you know, but it's not necessarily but you'll maybe find that there's this rock that just was an amazing thing. You know, it's like they'll usually guide you because there's a good reason. You know, like the other day I was taking the navigation system and it took me on these side roads. And it was like, why are you taking me down the side road? Well, out of the fog was this deer. And luckily I just saw it out of the corner of my eye with the light reflected it just nice because it was a really thick fog. And like, oh, be gentle with yourself in the midst of not knowing what's going on. That was the message I needed to get. And so even though I was kind of going off on a weird road, I got the message, and that carried me through for a couple of days, because of what I was going through. There's all these different reasons why we sometimes go down a bumpy road, but we never know why. It's like, for me, I heard that I needed to get disability insurance. Well, I ended up getting on disability because of my shoulders. Well, right after that, I ended up having kids. And after that, my parents got sick. And after that, my uncle got sick. It's like, so that disability carried me through, even though my shoulders were a negative thing, it actually carried me through a lot of things in my life that I needed to be present for.
Yeah.
And they actually were presents in my life if I really looked at it, because my mom passing made me who I am today. And oh God, I'm so grateful.
Well, I think people, like, anytime you have a dream or the intuition, if as long as you're mindful and realize, we know instinctively if something's going to the negative side or the loving side. At least most of us do, I guess, unless you are crazy or something. So I've always found that anything from the other side is always plus. It's always a loving thing they're trying to get you to. I've never had one little thing through a dream or an intuition or something, or when I felt they were talking to me, that it had to do with doing anything that was negative whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good.
I know a lot of people have like coyote as a guide. Well, coyote's a trickster. Coyote is one that likes to play mischief, and so you have to watch how mischievous someone might be, because your tricks that you play on someone might go a little bit over the edge, but that's learning your guide. It's learning who is around you. It's like I had fairy or elementals that were in my kids' room, and even in my husband's side of the bed that was dark, and they were not happy looking. They were quite, but what they were doing is my husband and my kid were very depressed. And so they were kind of being the suction cut. They were being the vacuum cleaners, to help with the negativity. Now, like I told one, I said, you're getting a little heavy here. How can I cleanse you? How can I help you clear out so that you're not adding more negativity to the room? Because sometimes things get too overwhelmed when someone's working through a lot of things. And so you need to cleanse them, like rocks we cleanse, like windows we clean so we can see outside. There's these things that are going on that we just got to kind of help move through. So something that can be negative for our greater good, we sometimes just have to help it turn more neutrality.
Where do the negative entities come from?
Well, just like we have good, you have to have bad. Just like you have light, you have to have dark. And it's perspective. That there's some people that have really good guides that are dark. Like I had one younger friend of mine that she has Sauron from from Lord of the Rings, and people would think that would be a negative guide. But like I told this friend, I said, you might want to just be careful that you stay in balance. You have other guides that can balance out the shadow and the light. And then I realized Sauron was just coyote in another, because there's so many different names for different guides. Out there. It depends on what belief system you are. It's kind of like Mother Mary. She's Mother Mary, she's white calf buffalo woman. She's many different things because it depends on what you believe in, depends on how your guides come to you. And so with that sometimes they kind of take on a negative wordage just to kind of help you work through your negative things so that you can turn around and be light.
Are you saying that there are negative energies out there that come from someplace other than God?
Mm-hmm.
Then where do they come from?
They just come from just, um, what I can only explain what I see. They come from a very icky, dark, just place. They just come from it. And I don't want to call it hell, because hell is perspective. I like it. I like I was watching Lucifer on Netflix, and they had a perfect scenario for hell. It was doing the action over and over and over again that you did, like you shot someone, and you shot someone over and over and over again. It was a personal hell, but it just has that, I don't know, icky feeling. And I know some of this image that I have might be a little bit tainted from what I've seen on movies and that kind of stuff, but it just has that ickiness. And then some of us have these entities or these beings that passed away. Maybe it was someone who lived a really nasty life. They were maybe they were murderers and stuff like that, and they chose not to cross over to do the work. They stayed in this life, and then they attached to someone, or they attached to a house, and they caused problems, and so it's hard to move them along. But there's, like, I had a friend who had I'm going to call him a demon in her closet, and he hated when I came over, because he knew that I could take care of him, because I was opposite. I was love.
It's pretty funny. He had a demon in his closet.
Yep.
Hey, guys, come over here. You can come over to my house and you can see the demon in my closet.
I know, isn't there a song about that or something like that? But because she has a porthole. She has a porthole into there's a porthole that goes into Earth, and sometimes there's places in Earth where it's negative, and then there's some places that are nice. But that's the balance. You have to have the shadows in order to have the light. There's under the table and there's above the table, so, and if we recognize that, it's called just finding the balance somewhere in the middle. And balance sometimes is here, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's right in the middle.
I saw a case this last week, in one of the cases I was watching, and when the person went under for to go to a past life, and then he went beyond that, and he became this enlightened being. It was amazing. And he was talking, he was going in and out of portals, and his voice even, it was like he was channeling almost. And because the facilitator asked him about portals, and he goes, oh yes, and he was at one, and it was right in the middle of some busy street in some city. I forget what it was, but he was just talking about how to see them, how they looked and everything, and how they open and closed. And, some of them are there longer. And then some of them are at the places that we all kind of know about, like Mount Shasta or Sedona, or a couple of, where the energies are such where they all come together, where there's these portals to, to other places. So it made it seem really real the way he was. And when he came out, he was like, whoa, where'd that come from? But it was, we were all watching and just like on the edge of our seats. It was amazing, what they were doing. So, boy, there's so much out there. Oh, hey, I saw a good movie this week. Just came out on Netflix, just called The Dig. Just The Dig. And it's a true story about, in England, a woman whose husband had passed away. I think she had 50 acres or 500 acres, this big, rich woman. And she'd always seen these mounds on her property and wondered, she just had this feeling that there was something in those mounds. And so she hires a local guy who's like an amateur archaeologist, doesn't have formal training, but his grandfather did it and his father did it and taught him. And he comes out there to dig, and they end. I won't tell people to watch the movie, but the movie's all about, it's the biggest find they've ever had in England on this woman's property, but it's all about the past, and it changed the whole way at the time. And when that happened, it was just after World War II. Actually, it was at the start of World War II, because they had planes going over at one point. And on the radio they were talking about, they were going to have to go to war with Germany and stuff. But when they found this, their whole view of that time period where they thought people were too stupid and everything, but the artifacts they found were amazing, and that so it changed the whole way they looked at things. But it's just, things like that about the history, about past, where we've been from, and what's all that's done on this planet. And Ray Fiennes or Ray Finn, I don't know, he's a really good actor. He's just superb in there. And the woman's absolutely awesome too. It's just kind of slow moving, but really good characters. And it's really exciting just to see how they find that, how they dig up what they dig up. It's good.
Oh, exactly. In talking about, recently, last week, did a podcast, and a gentleman, it was the difference between creator and God. Mm-hmm. Very interesting as far as what he was putting out as far as creator. Seeing what was interesting, Regan, is in Journey of Souls, near the very end of it, or Destiny of Souls. And Michael Newton talks about the fact that there may be, and he wasn't sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but there may be actually levels of different gods, of different, like somebody who's in charge of this planet, then somebody who's in charge of the solar system. It's not the overarching energy of all that is, but it operates within that framework underneath that. That's what this gentleman was starting to talk about. A great
deal. That's what I'm beginning to see too from all of the research we're doing too. When people, sometimes we ask them to go to a past life, they end up being at the source, what they call the source. In other words, back home where they were first created. And they describe it as this, just being part of this energy. Mm-hmm. And it's like everybody's like there's zillions of little gods, and they're part of the big God. But when they're in this energy, it's like they're everything, but that they have their own specific personality or they have their own self, but yet they have everything else too. So which makes me see in the Bible when Jesus talks about being one with God, that he and God are the same. That's kind of the same thing. When they're back to source and you're part of the whole energy, and they don't want to leave. They go, and so we have to ask them. They say, well, no, I don't want to leave. And we say, well, you're in a body now that we're talking to, so apparently you left. And then they'll get down to like, oh yeah, I had to go down and learn some things or had to do some things. But when they get back to the source, it's the coolest thing when they do that. And you really see that they're back home where they were created or from in creation, but a lot of them talk about, like in the afterlife, what Michael Newton's books have shown is that there's an infinite amount of jobs to be done in heaven, and some of them are to go and start creating other planets, or to, like, I remember in some of the cases they went to their past lives, and then they're in heaven, and then one of their experiences in heaven with a bunch of other souls, they were going to these planets and they were learning how to create minerals to prepare planets for life, so they were, like newbies in this one life, trying to learn how to. And they were doing like a trial and error kind of thing, like, oops, that didn't work, kind of thing. So it looks like this creation thing is like we're all created by God, or we're all part of God, so we're all that creation. But part of that is that part of us that's God actually has the ability to create. And that's when we see it in little ways, when we do with our minds, how we create our existence, or we create something we want, like The Secret, they're talking about, oh, you want something, you put your energy there and it manifests. So it's just, down here, we're doing it on little things, but just imagine if we're, creating a galaxy or something, it's like and that shows you the power that we have to create what we want and to create our future, to create the kind of life that we want. We just have to know that we can, that's part of it, just knowing we can. And getting rid of the roadblocks and the people that have told us we can't our whole life,
Oh, exactly. And people tell us that you can't do that your whole life,
right?
I have a memory. Well, actually, I was talking to someone and they said, well, I'm one of the ones that came, one of the first ones that came, and I went, okay, I don't snub somebody else's belief system. But it made me question mine. So I asked my team to take me back to my point of creation.
Yeah. What was that like?
And I was sitting in the car and they just took me straight back. And I remember seeing this big, like, just amazing light. And I can't say it was long. I can't say it was thick. I just remember it was just a pure light. And and it was just, things were just taken off and put into, like, I don't want to call them seed pods, but just taken off. And that's where creation, we were created of light. And then as we went on, we ended up being different things. But they just mainly just showed me, because I was waiting to go into an appointment. So I ended up having to go there. So they were just showing me that split second of that moment. And it was like, but I remember us coming off and being kind of like in alignment, that when we came off, it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We weren't more important 1, more important 2, more important 3. You know what I mean? It wasn't about that. It was just when we came off, the point of creation, the creator, because the creator is light.
You just described what he wrote in the book.
Yeah, when they're there, they describe it just what you said, Natasha. They describe it as this light that's indescribable almost. It's just so loving and powerful and bright, but not bright. And they say it's hard to put into human terms, but they love it. They just love it.
It is love. It is love. And
love.
And coming off of that spot wasn't any less love.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what we did afterwards. And that's the thing is that a lot of times when I'm doing work with someone and they're having a hard time with love, and I haven't done this with, it has to be the right moment at the right time. And I have them go back to being the spark of when they were created as the moment when one egg and one sperm came together, and that spark, that is the time we get the closest to being that spark of creator or creation. Because we're all made of light. And if we remember that light is sitting with us, that's what we're meant to create in this world, is that spark of light in us. Now, does that mean sometimes we're not sitting on the couch going, God,
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, we are always that spark of light. And that's the light that either says we're in our prime of life or we're starting to dwindle away.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain time when it pulses brighter and pulses less. And it doesn't matter if you're 99 years old or 40 years old. It depends on who we are and where we're at in our life cycle. Depends on if that light is bright and how our self-perception is. Because I know for me, there's times when I just shoot that light outside of me, like especially when I'm in the shower, because that's the perfect time. Water conduit is the best time to help with your emotions. Mm-hmm. Then I just shoot almost out of every pore, and it just kind of helps just cleanse me.
I actually, it's funny you said shower, because it's one thing I always, when I'm teaching EFT, the tapping for people when they're talking about their issues and going through, I said the best place to do it's in the shower. I said, you go in the morning, you've got the water coming over, and I said you can decide what you're going to work on, and then it just lets their emotions out, and it's just a great place to do therapy, self-therapy in the shower,
Oh, almost every shower I take from my hips and I pull down on my legs, and then I, pull on my foot and pull on my toes to release that tension that has been created in my day. And I kind of, take the shower and, just kind of, and then I have a knowing that I have wings. And so sometimes I sit there and I wash my wings off because they carry a lot, it's like,
I love it.
And and I have a gift because I live on a well, and I have a septic system. So my water comes out of the ground, comes in through the shower, and then back to the ground again. So for me, I really feel, I say Mother's Earth's love giving me a chance to just be cleansed for that day. Because when things go down the drain, and I tell people, don't watch what's going down the drain unless you want to really say goodbye, because it's like, it is about releasing, transforming it so whatever comes in can come in as light and love, because that's what Mother Earth wants, is us to know that she loves us no matter what we do.
Yeah. I'd always thought, we were talking about the light, and every time I'm at a fireworks demonstration or this 4th of July and the fireworks, and there's tens of thousands of people just woo, wow, and they're seeing all the light. And to me, that's always kind of this something from their inner is reminding them where they came from when they see these colored lights. And that's why they're drawn to it like a moth to a flame, and because you wonder, it's just a bunch of things going on. Why is everybody so, why do hundreds of thousands of people all over just can't wait to go see a fireworks demonstration? And I just know that something inside is, they're experiencing that light, which when my clients are on the other side and they experience the light, that's like the most interesting and enjoyable part of the journey that I take them through, is when they get to experience all these colored lights and the energy that's there. It's when they feel whole and they feel love. Anytime they're in that light, they feel love. So
well, that's the Aurora Borealis colors.
Yeah.
And that green in there is the green of Mother Earth. And it's her and him and Father Sky dancing, and if there's a different word that people use for Father Sky or Mother Earth, that's up to them, but that's the words that I choose to use. And that's just the dancing that they do. And that's actually the colors that I have come up and then come back down to work on chakra work or go into those different places where, like in the heart, you can usually go into a lot of different past lives. You can go into different places, and it's quite interesting when you can do that kind of work with someone. I know that I've helped several people come up and find out a lot about themselves through doing a lot of my meditations.
Yeah, one time, Natasha, because I think you know a lot more about this than I do, but we could do part of a show just talking about the different colors and what they're used for. Like I know different people will use like orange for one thing when they're imagining, or the white, I usually have people put a white pyramid of energy around them before we start doing the past life stuff, protection and that. But I know the different colored lights and the different colored, it's like when you think about it, colors were invented for a reason, not just so they were pretty colors. I mean, every color has a certain different vibration and a different energy, and they're used for different purposes, So I think you know a lot about that, don't you, Natasha? Quite a bit.
I know a lot of things, but sometimes that the humanness of written word, sometimes it doesn't stick with me. I may know it, but yet it doesn't stick with me. And there again is that.
It's the same with me. Yeah. But anyway, just bringing that up now, if someone listened to this, there's people out there that are experts on it. You can go online and go, and we'll have to talk to, I think I mentioned that before, but I found, I don't know what I did with them here this week. When a cleaning lady came, I moved them, but I have some necklaces that I have that, are different gemstones and things. And there's a company called Gemisphere up in Portland, and it was channeled to him and his wife from the Teachers Beyond, what all the meanings and purposes were for all the gems of the earth. And it's a book that's about that thick, and it's amazing because they'll have like 1 week would be the guardian of the sapphire, and then the guardian of the diamond, and it's all these. And it's just magnificent to read, and just to see that, like colors, sounds, gems, everything that's put together here is for some sort of spiritual help, or some sort of physical help, to help us to evolve.
Yes.
And we're just becoming aware of all that now, So.
It wouldn't hurt me to remind myself.
Well, kids, what do you think? Do you think we should wrap this one up, or do you want to keep going?
I don't know. I have to call back. I took my wife's car into. We had trouble with one of the windows wouldn't stay up. You raise it up and it comes down again because it thinks it's hitting something, And I took it over and then rode my bike 4 miles back from the Lexus dealership, and I know I've got to call them back because they're going to tell me if they're going to keep it or not or what their problem is. So I think they're open till 5:30.
Well, you better, we better wrap this up then. Regan, how do they do it?
How do they
get a hold of you, Regan?
Oh, well, you can get hold of me at visittheafterlife.com. Again, there's that free book on there if they want. And then there's the book, 3 hours, 33 minutes in heaven. They can order through it. You click on it, takes you to Amazon. And it's about the time the 3 hours and 33 minutes I spent in heaven and all that I learned. But that's what I do now. It's my what I do every week now is help other people have that same experience through the Newton process. About 80. Now I'm up to 86% because I had a couple more successful ones this week. So 86% of the people that do this pretty much across the board are able to go to a past life and then go where they go between lives, which is heaven, and spend some time there, see people that have passed on, go to wisdom temples, go to the Akashic records where they could see all their past lives if they want, go before council, get questions answered about this life. It's absolutely hair-raising amazing, as I would say. So there's videos on my website, visittheafterlife.com. And if they have any questions, they can get a hold of me there.
Natasha?
Well, they can reach me at angelicclarifications.com or Natasha at angelicclarifications.com is my email. And it's a blessing to be able to help someone through their struggles. And I know for me, like when I had a group medium session, that there was a mother who lost a child, and I talked about her child's past life, and it kind of made sense why her child had problems in this lifetime. And so past lives do have validation, and it's amazing when we can kind of go, oh, okay, now I can put that in a different perspective than just like fear of because of you don't know why sometimes until you go into the research, and then you can find out more about yourself, which makes it a more well-rounded life.
Oh yeah, and I was thinking, Natasha, too, we can both help people. I figure we've had 400,000 people in this country pass away from COVID, and each one of them has at least 10 people who are grieving now. Probably family, friends, and that. So that's 4 million, right? Would that be 4 million, I think? 4 million people that are going through grieving right now. And Natasha is very good at helping people connect with loved ones on the other side, just to let people know that they're okay. And if they do a life between life with me, that's 3 or 4 or 5 hour process, they can actually talk to them and, just be there in person with them, talk to them, and see that everything's okay. So we just Natasha and I just want to let you know we're here to help. If any of you are going through the grieving process, we'd love to help you.
And one of these days, you guys need to tag team somebody. And
yeah.
You guys would have fun with that.
It'd have to be somebody who was willing to do you would have to do it 1 week. I'd probably do it the next week because
it's all information,
Days. Oh, that'd be a lot.
All righty then. Well, I hope everybody has a great day, and thank you to you two for being here on another Monday. You have a good day.
Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other because each other's all we got. See you next time on My Independent Truth.